Am I the idiot for wanting to cancel the party that my husband is throwing for his best friend? I 28F and my husband 30M have been dating for 3 years and married for 2. Recently we have bought a house together to start a family. It has a beautiful garden and is overall quite spacious. My husband, let's call him Paul, and his best friend Ethan have known each other since elementary school and are very close. Ethan hadn't had any relationships during the whole time that I have known him. Apparently this is quite rough on him, so my husband decided that he would host a party for him at our house and asked me to invite all my single girlfriends, and they were to invite their single friends as well. To be honest, I really did not want to have a party in our home, especially with me being 7 months pregnant. But I relented and said fine because I thought it could be fun to meet my friends and get my mind of things. We chose a date for the party and invited our friends. An estimated amount of around 30 people, mostly women, would be attending. Even though I am pregnant and cannot drink, I offered my husband that I could be making cocktails for the guests, as this is something that I think is fun and I like making mocktails for myself as well. He kinda looked at me weird and said, "Well, who else would be making them?" Which threw me off a bit, as this was his event and not mine. I took the moment to ask him if he had called a caterer or how he would be feeding the guests, to which he gave me a look and replied by saying, "I thought you were going to cook." I was sure I wasn't hearing clearly, so I asked him again and got the same answer as before. I told him that there was absolutely no way I was going to feed 30+ people and that he should either order food or make it himself. He told me that he was too busy with party planning and work and had no time, and that I should just be making appetizers instead, as people would be mostly drinking anyways. I told him that I would not be doing that, as my pregnancy has been hard on me and I didn't think I had it in me. He told me to just try, and I said no and told him that he should call catering before it was too late. Fast forward 2 weeks and he has not called catering and told me that I had to make the appetizers as it was too late now anyway. It made me incredibly upset, and I told him that I was going to be canceling the party because at this point, it was stressing me out too much. He called me selfish and told me to quit being such an asshole and to just do something nice for his friend who is struggling. I do feel bad for lashing out on my husband and wonder if I exaggerated. Comment 1. When my husband first brought this party up, the thought behind it did make me feel a bit icky, but my emotions are all over the place ATM, so I don't really trust myself. My friends all know that this is a party for singles. I have mentioned Ethan to my close girlfriends, but since they invited their friends too, I don't know how much went through to them. There will be other single guys there that my husband invited. So far he told me some of the names of men who will be there, but mostly he just told me that if so and so has time, they will come. Some of my friends have also asked if they could bring their guy friends, to which I said yes, but I am unsure how many of those will actually be attending. Comment 2. You know why I think so many people jump to suggesting divorce? Because we've been here before and we realized that we put up with some shit like this that we thought at the time was something small. Then, the years passed and we kept overlooking all these things that we thought were small. Then, one day something big happened, like our spouse cheated, or cleaned out the bank account, or made a huge life-changing decision without us, or acted like an asshole when we miscarried, or something else major that turned our life upside down. At that point we finally looked back at all the things we overlooked and realized the signs were there all along. So, for those of us who have lived through this shit, we know this is almost always just a sign of more to come. These types of behaviors rarely happen in a vacuum, and, yes, as an isolated incident, it seems like no big deal. The problem is that when you've finally had enough, and you're ready to leave, you look back and you wonder what took you so fucking long. Because the signs of them being a selfish, inconsiderate prick were there all along, and you just excused them, overlooked them, or let them convince you were overreacting. So, we're just here speaking to these people from the other side, trying to talk some sense into them, and save them some time. Sure, some people can just have a moment where they are inconsiderate, and it's out of character, but it's almost always the case that this is exactly who these motherfuckers are, and this is a big red flag waving telling you to GTFO. You'll see it very clearly at the end, but when you're in it, it's really hard to see. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for confronting my husband about his sudden changes around the house? I, 40F, have a habit of taking my 2 kids, 8F and 10M, to visit my family in a suburban area close to the city we live in during the 1-week break they get at the end of their first semester each year at school. We've been doing that for as long as I can remember. This all started 3 years ago when my kids and I came back from my families. My husband insisted he had a surprise for me and that I would absolutely love it. Once I entered our living room, I discovered he had painted the walls a hideous shade of pink, almost peach but still mildly striking. I hated it. For context, we own a house far away from the city center to which we go to during weekend and in which I gave him full liberty to do his arts and crafts. Considering how much he loves doing these things, the apartment I came back to though is closer to our jobs and the children's schools, so we stay there during the week. I acted as if I liked the change and that it's refreshing to the living room that I had previously decorated in muted and monochromatic colors, but that these kinds of decisions should have been discussed prior. He agreed and we moved on. The next year, however, while driving back home from my parents', my husband called and informed me that he had yet another surprise for the kids and I, and that it involved our balcony. I loved our balcony, it was my safe place. I kept plants in there and spent all of my alone time in it, and so I was irritated at the thought of it changing without my knowledge. My husband decided to remove the demi-wall I hung my plants on and replaced it with a green metal grid, and put plexiglass on the top area so the balcony was completely closed now. He also disposed of all my plants that I've grown particularly fond of. I was livid to say the least, but kept it together in front of the kids and just went to bed since I was already tired. I figured I could just get new plants and not make a big deal out of the situation since my husband seemed happy about it. The next morning at breakfast, a silly argument started between us and my husband started stating all the things I do that he hates. And so I blew up and told him every single refreshment carrot he'd done is hideous to me and that he has no taste in home decor, and should stop believing he does. He got mad, stormed off, and is now giving me the silent treatment. Am I the for saying what was on my mind? Comment 1. Hey, babe, I totally revamped your wardrobe while you were away. Your old clothes? The ones you liked and chose for yourself and maintained? Those ugly old things? I tossed M. Why are you being so ungrateful? Can't you just take this collection of ponchos I lovingly hand-picked for you and get over it? Comment 2. Oh, hey, it's that dude from yesterday who decluttered his sister's place where he was staying for free by chucking out lots of her stuff without asking her, and got all huffy when she wasn't grateful for him stealing her clothes. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for watching my husband and his friends fuck up their vacation without helping? First, I would have not let them completely nuke their vacation, and I always had an eye on what they did to intervene. They are now at their destination and have fun. A few years ago, I backed out of any group vacation since I was always expected to be everyone's travel agent and travel guide, and micromanage everyone's affairs since I am a very experienced, low-budget traveler. I didn't enjoy this, so I stopped, and now I just travel solo or with one other person max. My husband and 3 friends wanted to go on vacation. I told him from the beginning he can ask me questions and I would help, but I would not plan for them. I also said, we want to do this and that, can you research and book it, is not the kind of question he can ask. He said I don't need to bother them, they will manage on their own, in a very rude tone. So I completely backed off and watched from the sideline. As expected, they did some rookie mistakes that costed them a not so significant amount of money, but more important, lots of stress. My husband sent me a pretty pissed massage and called me a petty before takeoff. I now wonder if I really am the edit. For those interested, here are the situations I watched and let them struggle with. Everyone booked their flight tickets separate for unknown reasons. Not a grave mistake as it is, but 2 of them are basically tech/internet noobs who can't log in somewhere for the life of it. This will become important later. They all booked their inter-EU, low-cost airline, direct flights, not directly with the airline but through some travel booking portal, which is basically known as Scammy. They provide next to no service, and as soon as anything goes wrong you're on your own. Also, it's hella intransparent what exactly you pay for. They thought they saved a shitton of money, but this was because the price did not include any luggage, just a handbag-sized carry-on. They later had to add luggage and paid about €60 more per person per flight in the end compared to booking through the airline. From the beginning, the online check-in through the above-mentioned scammy travel website is known to be faulty or not working. People are supposed to automatically get their boarding passes via mail as soon as online check-in opens, but that often just doesn't happen. Apparently they online noticed that the boarding passes are missing at 2 a.m., departure was 6 a.m., and they had to wake up the whole travel group and then try to figure how to check in manually and try to help the two tech-savvy people, C.1, do it. It took 2.5 hours apparently. The airline they took is the cheapest of all low-budget carriers, but they are not for the weak as well because they have a shitload of hidden fees and hefty fines for about everything. So one thing is they require online check-in and you have to bring your boarding pass either A, printed on paper, or B, in their app. Opening the PDF in the mail is not accepted. Check-in at the airport or having them print your ticket because you forgot costs €60 fee. They also have the strictest rules about carry-on, they only allow handbags and the like, nothing as big as a backpack. And if your carry-on is too big you pay a €60 fine and need to check it in. They actually managed to fuck up the ticket thing and the hand luggage thing. They almost missed the small fact that they need passports to travel to their destination since a few years. Europeans now know where this takes place, and not only IDs. None of them had a passport and they almost missed the time frame to get them issued and it was all very stressful. I was aware and would have said something in time if they hadn't noticed. Edit 2 because it sometimes came up. Yeah. It is very basic knowledge for everyone who ever planned a vacation. As far as I am aware though, my husband never did. Until he was in his mid-20s he would just go to vacation with his parents, just hop in the car. Parents took care of everything, and then he simply did not go on any vacations until we started dating. From there on I was the one planning stuff. I do genuinely not believe that he ever booked a flight or rental car himself before. Ages involved, late 30s, early 40s. I know that 2 other friends always book all-inclusive through agencies. The 4th guy is acutely the best prepared, he had his boarding pass in the app and right size carry-on. But he's lazy and probably did not feel to plan for the others as well. So that's how 4 adult people can make so many mistakes. Comment 1. Agreed. Planning and taking care of all that for 4 people would be a big job. I'm like OP, I travel solo, and I've made plenty of mistakes with planning over the years. Sucks at the time, but when you get sucker punched in the wallet you tend to learn fast. Look on the bright side, this is something you'll laugh about over drinks in the future. Nobody died, and they all got where they were going and they're having a good time. I'd say their flights home will go a lot better. Comment 2. I'm also the planner in my family. I try my best to consider the overlap of everyone's wants and needs, but mine come first. I think it creates a balance. I'm the one in charge of planning, and if anything goes wrong, it's my fault. But people have to adapt to the itinerary I pick. It doesn't bother me at all.